Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'll call to order the business meeting for the Faribault Public Schools School Board here on May 18th, 2026 at the district office. We welcome all of you who are in attendance and those of you who are joining us online. Director Steves, is there a quorum present?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is.
Thank you. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Agenda item number 2, just a little housekeeping before we begin. Board members, if you would take your microphone and pull it towards you and actually bend down the top directly to you, so when you speak, it's directly into there. We've been informed that we can't hear a few of you, so speak directly into the microphone and we'll go from there. So thank you. Agenda item number 2, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Boudreau. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Steves. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda item number 3, recognition, awards, and presentations. 3A, we have first student athletics and activities, a recognition. Our presenter is Mr. Shane Gunderson, our activities director. So, good evening, Mr. Gunderson. Welcome.
Thank you. Sitting here with me is Asher Ferris. We had 3 that we're going to honor tonight. Asher Ferris, Grace Porter, and Ryan Krieger. Asher had an outstanding season this year, placed 5th in the state swim and dive meet, earning all state honors for the 2nd consecutive year. He also finished as the conference and section runner-up, competing against the returning section and state champion in both meets. In addition, Asher broke the school's 11 dive junior record by more than 50 points and came within a single point of the 6 dive junior record currently held by his brother. Already the 2nd best diver in school history, he enters his senior season poised for continued success and is considered a leading contender for both the conference and section titles. So, no pressure. Congratulations. You had a great year. Is that me? Sorry. Ryan Krieger, a basketball player. Throughout Ryan's career as a 4-year varsity player, he amassed on-court numbers and achievements that are incredible. He scored 1,387 points, hauled down 881 rebounds, a school record, and blocked 406 shots, also a school record. He was selected Big 9 All-Conference unanimously twice, named the Star and Tribune's top 25 players in the state list, and named the state's top big man. Ryan is one of the best basketball players Faribault has ever seen. And as outstanding as Ryan has been as a basketball player, he's even a better young man. And this is a quote from his coach, Eric Hildebrandt. He is competitive, humble, committed, and genuinely cares about those around him. He is one of the best teammates that I have ever had the privilege to work with. I'm so proud of all his accomplishments and this young man, and the young man that he has become. I am thrilled to watch him next year at Loyola Chicago, where he plans to play. So. And the last one was Grace Porter, who is a member of our co-op. She's from Shattuck. In gymnastics, she had not competed. She came to Shattuck in 9th grade, didn't compete in gymnastics till this year, but before that in Canada, she had been a club gymnast. So this year, she decided as part of her senior year, she was going to try out, and was doing really well. Late in the season, suffered a pretty bad hip injury. Trusted the 2-week rest. She had to sit out the Big 9 Conference Championship. Despite sitting that out, the conference felt that she was an honorable mention, was worth the honorable mention because she was participating so well. At the section competition, Grace and her teammates made the decision, Grace responded in an incredible fashion. She broke the school vault record with a 9.75, earning first place. She also earned a personal best 9.3 on the bars and took third, and then 9.4 on the floor and took sixth. All those scores qualified her for state in vault, bars, and the floor. At state, competing against 48 athletes on each event, Grace had some of her best routines, placing fourth in vault, third in bars, and fourth on floor at the state gymnastics meet. And this is a quote by her coach, Larissa Rasmussen. Beyond the scores, records, and medals, what made Grace truly special this year was her character. She was a positive role model to her teammates, consistently hardworking, lighthearted, coachable, and supportive of those around her. It was an absolute joy to coach Grace this season, and our team and community are incredibly grateful that she has chose gymnastics one more chance during her senior year. Her resilience, attitude, and accomplishment made a lasting impact on the Faribault Gymnastics Club.
Board members, any comments?
Well, Mr.
Director
Chair,
Moore.
could, Mr.
No.
Ch- okay. Mr. Chair, could we have Asher's autograph? He's the only guy that's here, or only one of the three here. I used to collect autographs when my kids were in sports because it was just so fun to do. But it's good to meet you, Asher. Sorry I wasn't able to watch your competition. Good luck to you.
Director Moore.
I just want to say congratulations to Asher, Brian, and Grace. I have to say that our son, Shane and Shane were teammates in the football team in Faribault. And so, but I have to say, it's just, you should be proud of yourself. And you're very polite too. And so, just great, congratulations. And I think another round of applause would be good. All the students.
So congratulations to all of the student athletes who are recognized, and just shows you what quality kids we have and the activities we provide for them. So that's a great thing. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Being flexible in our agenda here, because Issei is supposed to arrive here, so I'm going to jump to agenda item 3C. We'll hold off on the student board representatives. Hopefully he'll show here in a few minutes, but the Faribault Area Learning Center presentation, our presenter is Mr. Jake Hager, our Faribault Area Learning Center Director, and I believe Miss Abby Bloomquist, if I remember there, and a student, so welcome.
Thank you. Oh, thanks for having us. This is Abby Bloomquist and Jacob Bartow, 11th grader here at the ALC with us. So, I guess what we sort of wanted to talk about today is something that we... This one? Oh. Okay, now it might be. There we go. Is something that we sort of talked about last year when I had the opportunity to come and speak before you. And what it really evolves around is, and we've talked about this over the last 2 to 3 years with the staff at the ALC, is how can we get more experiences and opportunities for the students at the ALC? Because something that we always talk about is, and a lot of people in general talk about, the achievement gap. And what we really see is it's not an achievement gap, it's an opportunity gap. When students at the LC are given the opportunities, they achieve at the same rates or just as high as any student, whether that's at the LC, the high school, wherever. And so that's what we've really tried to focus on as a staff at the ALC is how can we increase different experiences, different opportunities, both socially and academically. And And on both aspects of it, we're very lucky and we have some really great donors that have allowed us to have some, well, give more social experiences to our students. This year, we went to the Como Zoo. We just went to Can Wonderland and got to see how they're incorporating local artists into the things that they're doing there. Tomorrow, we're actually going to a Saints game. We're hoping for better weather. It looks like it's going to be a little chilly. And just trying to get those different social aspects in there, because a lot of times when students come to us, those social aspects have been missing for different reasons. On the academic side of things, we have a smaller staff, and because of that, we really try and focus on the cores and those things that our students really need to graduate. But then looking at, well, when it comes to English, what are the different things that we can do to fulfill those English requirements, and math and science, social studies, things like that. And one of the things that we went backwards to go forwards. We used to do these things called symposiums. It's sort of like a J term. And we brought them back last year, and the staff was really able to take what we learned last year with symposiums and build on it for this year. Our math teacher, Brian Mays, and special ed teacher, Tim Mulls, they were able to work with FEEP, and we got 3 or 4 3D printers, and they put on a 3D printing class for our students. Abby put on a class called Judge and Jury, which was sort of like a criminal, what's the word?
Like a true crime investigation.
There we go. Our FIAD teacher did a WWE history and bracketology, mental health and wellness. Nikki, our social worker, got in on that, and Heather Castile, our vocational communications teacher, they sort of tag teamed that a little bit. And with these opportunities, they're able to earn elective credit, but we're also able to earn different core credits as well, because Abby's hits on different English standards. We're able to give English credit. We were able to give social studies elective credit with Manya, our social studies teacher. Our science teacher did intro to nursing. So even though we're a smaller staff, we're still trying to figure out ways, how can we offer more opportunities, more credits, and more experiences to our students. So Abby has really taken the lead on this and trying to look at different ways to meet the needs on the English side of things.
So one of the things that I got back into this quarter, this year, was a digital media offering, which is essentially video productions. And for most of the students on my roster, with the exception of one, this was a brand new class for them. They'd never been exposed to any sort of formal video creation or editing. And the end product is what you're going to see here in a moment. But they've done an incredible job. They've really come in and knocked it out of the park. Again, especially as beginners, so to speak, it's been really cool to see them really take the reins and take ownership and really pour into our program.
Okay, let's see if this works. What do you think this works? So this was the final product that Abby was talking about, that the digital media class ended up working on and creating.
Socially, it helped me a lot to find my inner circle, as well as to be able to pass my freshman year.
I think that the ALC is a good environment for kids who need more help. I think
a lot of people get misconceptions from the adults in the community, as they put a lot of slander on it, believing that it's a terrible thing, you know. But it really isn't. I believe it's an opportunity for other people that can't really fit in the high school or adjust to the things in the high school.
It's a really good opportunity for credit and graduating early, and honestly a really good experience when it comes to the people.
They're good at making sure you are there every day and on time, and they are very accessible when you need them, when you need help with work.
I get to pour from doing like work and like helping understand all of the assignments.
feel like they're more flexible with how to help you. Like they're just more helpful. Like
when I used to go to another high school, my grades weren't good. I didn't have any good relationships with my teachers, and I just felt like I wasn't my best self. But when I came to the ALC, I found that my grades were better. I had better relationships with the teachers because I feel like they understand me more.
I think that our school allows more opportunity for many students and helps a lot of kids in ways other schools can't.
It feels more like a community and less like a school. And the teachers are really lenient and really nice, and they work with you very well.
I think the ALC is a great place for people to learn as well as to find some sort of community that they feel like they can belong to.
They offer a lot more support than you think a normal school would have. I feel like here, if they tell you they're going to help you, they really will, and they'll try to get in contact with you to give you that help. I have taken the opportunity to go out of my comfort zone and talk to more students and just find success in ways that I haven't elsewhere.
They help me increase my grades and they help me catch up and so then I can graduate earlier.
I got better at my attendance and going to school and getting better grades. I started college classes this year. Significant failure was losing a year and a half of school because I couldn't show up and I would instead skip with my friends. But I had that help from teachers. They ended up setting up a meeting with my parents and talking with my parents and making goals for me and plans for me on how I could get better, which honestly that helped a lot because it set me back in track onto the road to graduation, and now I'm showing up every single day. I haven't skipped and I have straight A's so far, and I am graduating this upcoming month. So I'd like to say that the ALC helped me a lot in showing.
Would you two like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Vanya Olivo, and I'm a senior at the ALC.
I'm Madeline Reyes, and I'm a junior at the ALC.
But yeah, we just want to say thank you for having us, and any questions?
Board members. Director Moore.
I don't have a question. I just have a couple comments here. I visited the ALC quite a bit, and thank you, Jake. And every time I go in there, I just kind of, lets me wander around. I talk to the students. I do see the community there. I see the students engaged. They seem to be happy. I think this is all in all, in general, it's just a great program, and I hope it continues. As I said, when I go in, teachers let me talk to the students. I think it's just a great experience, I think, for me, and I think for all of us. And I also want I told Jake I'd say this. Thank you for the brevity. I'll get only a few short ones here. Because I had a stats professor one time that agreed with the assessment that if you want to hide something, you inundate the reader with lots of oodles of charts and statistics, and you didn't do that. I think you're just right up in front, and I appreciate that. And like I say, every time I've gone in there, I think overall it's all in all, it's a great program. I hope it continues. So congratulations to you.
Director
And to
Boudreaux.
the students.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for coming, all of you. Appreciate seeing you. And Jake, I have a question for you. The opportunities and the credits that you're looking to expand on, I think that's good creativity on your part. I'm wondering if, when you get in your new location, if you'll have greater opportunities to do some other things. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if you've thought about that, but maybe share some of your thoughts about the process of moving and what you think, how you think that may enhance your program.
We're super excited to make that move. And it's definitely going to increase the opportunities. We've got to collaborate and team up with public health, and we're working on building a greenhouse on that site. And actually, our math teacher and our special ed teacher have been working on and currently are working on creating a sort of more of a hands-on math. And so taking geometry and looking at or combining or taking what they're learning in geometry in the classroom and really putting that into or showing how that fits into like construction and the trades and things like that. But then also looking at me and Mr. Bent were talking about this the other week, looking at planting some different fruit trees and things like that to be able to give back to the community and looking at that aspect of it. And about a month ago, we were able to sit down with Cassie in the chamber and looking at bringing back more volunteering opportunities. So we're always looking at how can we partner and how can we collaborate to give more and more experiences. So.
It's true. Well, you have a great amount of acreage there, and you could probably set up a little landscaping business. I hope you enjoy it, and you'll also have the opportunity to have some lunches together or some things to celebrate in a cafeteria, as well as a gym and a stage, so some programming. I'm really excited to hear in another year from you.
Director Steves.
Yeah, so as Jake alluded to, I got the privilege of going out to the ALC site a few weeks ago. I love the career connectedness. And the list of volunteer opportunities, like these kids are already showing up, like, and helping out their community, whether they think it's a fun activity, or if it's, picking up trash on the side of the road. I just saw a post the other day about that. So keep up the good work. Your community needs volunteer hours, so thank you for that.
Director Knudsen.
Well, I want to thank you guys for coming, and I'm very familiar with the ALC. The students don't know that I used to be a teacher there, so I think we always considered it the best kept secret. And since Jake has taken over the reins, I think it's gotten even better, and I hear just great things going on. So I look forward to seeing the move and what kind of opportunities will exist from expanding. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you for coming in. Very good presentation. I would say on behalf of the board, we are excited. I'm really excited come August to finally have a building in which you have a kitchen, you have your own gym, you'll have a science room and an art room and other academic things, so you really expand it. I'm very proud that we're able to do this for a quality program for alternatives learning environment that you have and what you provide for kids. So I thank you so much, and we'll advocate for you all the time. So we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have a great night. So with flexibility, we're going back to agenda item 3B. I would like to recognize the student board representatives. So if I could have Isa and Amira, if you would come up front here. I'm going to come around. So, yes. And that this might be your time for, not that I need my picture taken, but coming to the end of the school year, tonight we'd like to recognize and thank our student school board representatives, Isa Ali and Amira Williams, for their service to our school board. First, we offer our sincere appreciation to Isa Ali, who is graduating this spring after nearly 2 years of service as a student school board representative. Throughout his time on the board, Isa has brought valuable student perspective, thoughtful insight, and strong commitment to representing his peers. We are grateful for the time and dedication he has given to our district and school community. Isa, thank you for your service, and we wish you the best in your next chapter. I'd also like to thank Amira Williams for her service and contributions this past year. Amira has been a positive voice for Congratulations, all of you. So entire board, if you'd like you to come up and we'll get a photo out here.
Okay.
Agenda item number 4, items of information. School board members, have anything?
School board members, sure. That's us?
That's us. Director Wolf, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I got to attend and participate in the post-prom on Saturday night into Sunday morning, and for this old guy, I'm not used to, you need help here? There's
No,
that better?
I didn't hear what you said. You got
I
to
said
participate in
I
what?
had the opportunity to participate in post-prom on Saturday night into Sunday morning, and for this old guy, I'm not used to going to sleep at 4 a.m. anymore. But post-prom was fantastic, and the people that went to post-prom, I think, made it fantastic. Some people need to sharpen up on their blackjack skills a little bit. However, the hypnotist was really great, and if you don't believe in hypnosis, you should go and watch somebody that you know get hypnotized, because I know a couple people that got hypnotized, and you could not help but smile watching the fun they were having on stage. And so anyway, it was a great event, and thank you to all the people that helped plan the post-prom and that volunteered for it, and thank you to the students that came and made it great. So wonderful.
Director Steves.
A few weeks ago, I got the pleasure of going to on a farm tour with the Lincoln Elementary, and then just last week, we took Jefferson to the Bauer Farm. I brought home no additional animals, so that was quite the feat. Yeah, just a huge thank you to our local ag community. They donate their time and their efforts. Yeah, also attended a field trip to Shattuck also last Friday, and then just today, River Bend. So our community is incredibly generous and with their time, talents, and treasures. So our kids are really, really incredibly lucky that they get to experience all of these things locally.
Director Knudsen.
Well, I attended the award ceremony with other people as well, and it was a wonderful turnout. A lot of students got some great scholarships, and they were well-deserved, and an amazing amount of scholarships. I also attended I volunteered at the Community Unity event this past Friday, and they had a great turnout. A lot of families showed up. There was a lot of good food, activities. There was a movie played, and just a great turnout from our community. And I guess that's it.
Director Moore.
Yes, I'd like to say something about, sometimes when we're in discussion, we reference the laws. So I'd like to say something about the laws. As we know, we have state laws and federal laws, and they often conflict. But I think good laws are always, always based on an intrinsic sense of fairness whose foundations rest on godly morals and godly ethical precepts. In fact, our Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, is based on these godly morals and ethical principles. And it's interesting, just this past weekend, our nation was rededicated to God and godly values. And I know I put something on Facebook about that personally, and I see Director Bedreau did that as well. I thank you, Ms. Bedreau. But I do want to say that regarding any kind of law, if you don't have this moral and ethical basis flowing from the godliness or through time or circumstance, this moral and ethical foundation is eroded. That law is what I refer to, and this is my own term, it's pharisaical legalism. And that pharisaical legalism will produce a decline in individual and societal mores, which is, values, moral acceptance, that will eventually bring down an entire system or empire. And a few years ago, a lovely lady, Vesma, forewarned us about this. My point is that if any law is no longer based on sound ethics or morals emanating from godly principles or values, it isn't worth the paper it's printed on. And moreover, no one, and I say absolutely no one, should be espousing it or even basing their decisions on it. After the rededication, I think the public will be scrutinizing more closely how elected officials vote. And I just want to add one note here, and I think this goes along with what Vesma presented a few years ago. Nazis in Germany took over lawfully, legally, incrementally, one law, one policy, one protocol at a time. And I honestly never could understand how that happened. That is until now. What we base our decision-making on becomes, in the long run, our ultimate fate, and we really need to return to godly values. So thank you for listening to me.
Okay, I just have a couple of items here. On Monday, May 4th, I attended the orchestra concert at the high school. What an outstanding concert, once again, by Mr. Sloan and the students, and also the seniors were recognized at that concert. Many of those seniors started orchestra in fourth grade when we had orchestra beginning in fourth grade. And obviously down the years here, budget cuts, those had to be eliminated, so that was stressed there. Then on Director Knudsen elaborated on Wednesday, May 6th. I think there were 4 of us board members that were there. We had the Faribault High School Awards Night. For people who don't know, there were $233,000 were issued out in scholarships that evening to our seniors. $233,000 in scholarships. It was simply amazing. The school board here, we offer a school board leadership scholarship, and that was awarded to Isa Ali, our student board representative, and for an amount of $1,500. So we once again appreciate what you've done as well. Then on Saturday, May 9th, I attended the Faribault Middle School Band and Choir concert at Central Park. What an event. I don't know how the directors do it, but they were right on the money every time with times. If they said 2:45, this group was going to perform, it was 2:45 and they performed. And people all over, whatever. But all I can say is thank you to the music department here at Faribault Middle School. All of them were there. Orchestra, band, choir, they really unite together as a team. What a great thing to see. Some of them didn't have to be there. Also, there was a lot of Faribault Middle School teaching staff who were there. They didn't have to be. They came because they're part of the community. They are engaged with their students and just wanted to make weren't showing off or anything, but they just wanted to make their presence known. But in my opinion, what a beautiful way and what a great way to bring the community together. We just didn't have parents and grandparents and things there. You had community members saying, oh, there's a concert in the park, let's go. It was just a wonderful, great thing. Bless you, Nicole. And That's all I can say, is just, and thank you to all our students and staff for putting all this together and showing what great products we do have here at Faribault Public Schools. Moving on with the agenda, we'll now move to our student school board representatives report.
Good evening. As the year is coming to a close, so are many activities. All spring sports are or will be heading into sections in the near future. Wishing them the best of luck and congratulations on all the hard work each and every player has put in during the past 3 months. Band, orchestra, and choir a few weeks back showcased their skills at the Big 9 Music Festival in Northfield. Faribault students represented us well. Many students from band, orchestra, and choir participated in Big 9 Select. I, for one, had a blast playing with the very best of the Big 9 and learned lots from incredible directors. I also want to touch on the very unique opportunity I got to take part in as a student of Faribault. With Barbie's help, I was able to take part of the food service RFP team. I, with others, attended a meeting at 3 of the cafeterias in the district with a handful of food service management companies. We discussed the needs of the district and past shortcomings, as well as showing companies the equipment Faribault has. As a student, this experience opened my eyes to how many responsibilities FSMCs have and just how important it is to select the right one. I also understood how different Faribault is from other districts. Companies that attended were very intrigued and welcoming to having a student be part of the decision-making process. So huge thanks to you, Barbie. After those tours, I and others took part in the evaluation process, where we were able to read through hundreds of pages of proposals and personally grade them on various criteria. I think it's very important to know that the decision later discussed was made with not only Faribault students in mind, but with their help. So thank you.
So before I start, I would just like to thank the Faribault School Board. The amount of work you guys do is really impressive, and it's really much appreciated. And like Mayor said, as the spring sports come to a close, I had a chat with our activity director, Mr. Gunderson, while I was waiting for practice one day, and we were just talking about how we are seeing some decline in our extracurricular activities for some of our sports and why that is. So then in the past few weeks, I had been going around and been speaking to different students that have participated in sports previously, but are no longer participating, and getting the different reasons as to why. And some of those reasons is just like because of the student connections. I mean, we all join sports and different activities because we want to hang out with the people that we cherish most as our friends, and having some of those people graduate is like what's kind of disconnecting them from the sports that they play. So just trying to see how can, as each sports organization, like as for like basketball, for example, like how can we get the different students to build some of those newer relationships so that they continue to participate as they move forward, even with different classes graduating. And then I just wanted to say a thank you, going back to senior award night, to Mary McNellis. I know that there's a lot of students who definitely valued the work that she does at the high school, and being able to have her in her corner as they went through this process, as it can get very confusing and very overwhelming for different seniors. And then I would also like to give a thanks to Jenny Waitala, as she was a major help in planning prom. I was part of the prom committee. I also want to thank them, because I know it was so much work, but it was also so much fun. So many students were there, they engaged, they had fun, and it was just a really good time for all of us as the year came to a close. And then for post-prom, I would like to thank all of our community and our parents, as it's not something that has to be done, but it's something that's offered to us, and it's something that we really appreciate, just to like wrap up the night. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, student representatives. Superintendent Benty.
Mr. Chair, I'm becoming ever more convinced that my report is being leaked to the board and now the student reps before I get a chance to speak. So, As Director Knutson mentioned, our community event was held last Friday evening, was a tremendous success. Brought together families, students, staff, and community partners for an evening of connection and support. Families received free summer learning workbooks, sports balls, hygiene products, informational materials, and more, along with a free dinner for attendees. Thank you to everyone who helped make this event possible and for supporting our Faribault families. As Chair Bellingham said, our middle school 8th grade students recently participated in a junior achievement finance park pop-up experience where they applied budgeting, decision-making, and financial literacy through a hands-on simulation. Students explored real-life financial scenarios and practiced making smart financial choices for the future. Thank you to the many volunteers and community members who helped bring this learning experience to life. Roosevelt Early Learning Center kindergarten students recently enjoyed a beautiful day at Riverbend, exploring and learning about living and non-living things. Students walked through the woods, discovering turtles, birds, insects, and other animals along the trail as they experienced nature up close. It was a wonderful hands-on learning experience filled with curiosity and exploration. As Director Steves mentioned, Jefferson and Lincoln Elementary School students had a great time participating in this year's farm tours. Students learned firsthand about agriculture, animals, and the important work that helps feed our communities. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce, local farms, and volunteers who made this valuable learning experience possible for our students. Our students in our FHS Exploring Business class recently participated in Hometown Hustle, a budgeting simulation organized by Melissa Kuhl and Kurt Halverson from Hometown Credit Union. During the simulation, students experienced real-world financial decision-making by managing housing, transportation, groceries, insurance, and other expenses while balancing a budget based on a designated career and family situation. Thank you to the many community volunteers who make this experience meaningful and engaging for our students. Amira, you jumped in on stealing my thunder this week too. I attended the Big 9 Music Festival where I saw you play. You did wonderful. That was on May 1st. Students had the opportunity to share their musical talents, connect with students from other schools, and represent Faribault Public Schools with pride. Thank you to our music teachers for their continued dedication and support of our students throughout the year. Our Letters Science of Reading training has officially completed the live session portion of 2 full years of professional learning. When complete, pre-K through 5th grade teachers will engage in 144 hours of training through live sessions, online modules, textbook study, and classroom application. More than 100 teachers have now completed either early childhood letters or letters training over the past 4 years, while more than 100 paraprofessionals completed the MDE structured literacy training for support professionals. Thank you to our letters facilitators and staff members for their commitment to strengthening literacy instruction across our district. And then we have a plethora of upcoming events. Tis the season, Mr. Chair. Our district retirement party for staff is tomorrow in this room from 3:45 to 5:30. Our adult basic education graduation will take place this Thursday at 11:30 a.m. in the atrium at South Central College. There will be a middle school orchestra concert on Thursday at 7 p.m. Next Wednesday, Jefferson Elementary will hold its all-school celebration at noon. Our Area Learning Center graduation will take place at 1:00 p.m. on Friday, May 29th. Lincoln Elementary's 5th grade farewell will also take place on Friday, May 29th at 1:15, so you have to make a choice. Faribault High School graduation will be held May 31st, that's Sunday, at 2 p.m. And the plan for that is at Bruce Smith Field with a rain location at Faribault High School gym. Kindergarten graduation celebrations will take place on June 3rd at various times throughout the day at Roosevelt Early Childhood Center. June 4th marks the last day of school. 8th grade graduation will begin at 11 a.m. Jefferson Elementary's 5th grade graduation will take place at 1 p.m. and the Safe Summer Kickoff will be held from 5 to 8 p.m. at North Alexander Park on June 4th. Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Benty. Agenda item number 5, public comment. There's no public comment, thank you. Agenda item number 6, the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the minutes from the April 20th, 2026 and May 4th, 2026 business meeting and work session, employment, additional assignments, other authorization of payments, transfers, and investment accounts, and retirements. Is there a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Wolf. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Knudsen. There's no discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. At this time, I'm going to ask for a point of personal privilege based on something we just dealt with. An agenda item within the consent agenda, we had retirements. And there are 5 retirements listed in board book there. And I have to say, I'm kind of saddened but honored. I taught with all 5 of those. I worked with all 5 of those retirees, and there's 150 years of educational experience between those 5 people going out the door. Quality people, quality instructors, quality delivery of instruction, and they cared about kids. I want to thank them for their longevity in the district, for what they've done for not only the district, but for our students and our community. So thank you, retirees. Agenda item number 7 is the District Advisory Committee. Presenters, Director Steves and Director Boudreau. Director Boudreau, I think I'll turn it over to you first.
Okay, sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the District Advisory Committee met May 4th at 4:00 p.m. here in the district office. So the Advisory Committee will meet quarterly, and it will be in person and virtually, so people can also jump on virtually and join the committee. One of the things that was discussed was the curriculum selection for K-6 English Language Arts curriculum adoption. And after looking and surveying teachers, our district ended up selecting Benchmark Advance, and the prices are part of the committee's minutes, but I'm not going to get into a lot of details on that. I wanted to also highlight the purpose of the District Advisory Committee. So the District Advisory Committee ensures active participation of teachers, parents, support staff, students, and community members in planning and improving curriculum and instruction. The committee's work supports the vision and mission of Faribault Public Schools and World's Best Workforce legislation. Together, these stakeholders advise and make board recommendations regarding curriculum, instruction, as well as changes, additions, and deletions of courses, programs, instructional strategies that ensure all Faribault Public School students are successful in school and the community. So the World's Best Workforce is now called comprehensive, according to our committee, it's now called Comprehensive Achievement and Civic Readiness. So the acronym is CACR. So under that charge, there were goals that were adopted, and the goals were adopted by working with district staff over a course of time. I'm not going to get everything perfectly stated, but I do want to state the goals because I think they're very important, and they are measurable goals. So the goals include, there's 5 of them, and I'll just go through them. School readiness, which means all children are ready for kindergarten, and the goal is to increase the percentage of students who have completed early childhood screening by the 30th day of school, increasing it from 70% to 80%. So they all have percentage increases, but I'm just going to go back and state the goals. The second one is closing gaps. So all racial and economic achievement gaps between students are closed. And that is measured by reading and math. The third one is career and college readiness. All students are prepared for post-secondary success. And we are increasing the percentage of that by having students complete these skills quiz. One is by the end of ninth grade, and the skills lab, and then a personality style quiz. So there are actual activities that will determine readiness. And then in ninth grade as well, I guess these are all in ninth grade or by the end of ninth grade, students will meet their high school counselor to discuss goals after high school. So that is all part of the third goal, career and college readiness. The fourth goal is high school graduation, and the goal is that all students graduate from high school. And so we're increasing the percentage of students who will graduate in 4 years. And do you want the numbers, or is it too much detail? And we're also increasing the percentage of students who graduate in 6 years. So the last goal is lifelong learning. This is a new goal which states all students are prepared to be independent, lifelong learners, and engaged citizens. And we measure that by the completion of all the previous goals. So I thought it was quite a comprehensive meeting. Julie and Katie led it. Julie actually led it. Katie was there. I know I'm missing some things, and Julie will be here to present something else. If you want further information, she has the scoop. So Cassie, did you have anything else that you wanted to mention?
No, you had everything perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me, the most exciting thing is the college and career readiness, the lifelong learning and connectedness. And these are SMART goals. They're really high SMART goals. They're, just right at the edge of unobtainable, but we're going to get there, and there's a step-by-step increment in how we're going to choose success for our students.
So the next meeting will be in August, I'm assuming. We'll see. Quarterly.
Thank you, directors.
May I ask a question?
Certainly.
Thank you. Is this, you said the community, is this open to the community members then too? They can attend online, they don't have to, or can they just listen online, or because I'll have questions?
I will let Julie explain how other members can be part of this.
Thank you.
Once again, thank you, directors. Agenda item number 8, Policy Committee. There is no report. 8A, second reading of policies. How we're going to deal with this, I've been requested to deal with 3 policies individually. That would be policy 515, 530, and 618, I believe. No, am I correct on that, Director Moore? 515, 530, and
correct. Thank
618. Okay, so we will deal with policy 427, policy 615, and policy 625. Is there a motion for approval of revisions to policy 427, workload limits for certain special education teachers, and revisions to policy 615, testing accommodations, modifications, and exemptions for IEPs, section 504 plans and LEP students, and for the new MSBA policy 625, responsible use of artificial intelligence. Is there a motion for approval of those 3 policies?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Wolf. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Knudsen. Any discussion on those 3? Any discussion? Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Now, next we'll deal with agenda 8A2, revisions to policy 515. Is there a motion to approve revisions to policy 515, protection and privacy of pupil records?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Steves. I will second that. And discussion. Director Moore, I'll refer this to you.
Thank you, Chairman. I wanted to make some comments about 515, in discussion. This is about protection and privacy of pupil records. I think some of the changes that were made, I like the changes, they're more appropriate, I think, the wording. However, I think policy 515, I would like to comment a little bit. I think it sets a very dangerous precedent in that information can be withheld from parents as to the health and well-being of their child. In fact, in some cases where parents were kept in the dark by school officials, some children died as a result. And yes, school districts are being sued. I do have documentation of that. I don't have it with me tonight, but I can produce it. I think parental knowledge is really powerful. In fact, and somebody sent me this, constituent, just this past week. In fact, the 14th Amendment protects parental rights by recognizing that these rights as a fundamental liberty interest. This means that parents have the constitutional right to make decisions regarding the care, custody, and upbringing of their children. And I think the educational and healthcare systems, we really need to take note, because I think we're treading on some sacred ground here. And then I'd like to, this segues into the moral and religious obligations, and this was, somebody sent me this week too. John Adams, who was the founding father and second president, he happened to state, "We have no government armed with power capable of contending with human passions unbridled by morality and religion." And really what he's saying was, without morals that are based on godly principles, we have a problem as a nation, state, and community. And I do think how we vote on the amendment that I'm about to propose and the subsequent following vote highlights not only our individual values, but are we as individuals willing to stand up for these values in our actions or votes? Will we vote with our values or acquiesce to give in? So having said that, I'd like to propose the following amendment to policy 515. Chairman, you said she could pass them out, right, Jamie?
Yes.
Yes.
Pass it out and then.
Yes, because I did that so it would be easier. This amendment has been coming forth for a few years now, so I think everybody will recognize it.
While Jamie's passing it out, then I'd like you to do the proper motion. I move to amend.
Okay, I move to amend policy 515 with the following. In 8B, private records not accessible to parent, after 1.e. language insert. And I would just like to say, I don't want to plagiarize, this amendment was previously submitted by Director Bedreau on August 18th, 2023. I think she did a very good job on that. I'm going to read the amendment. 2, the responsible authority must not conceal or deliberately withhold information to a parent regarding a child's request to go by a different name or be recognized as a different gender, or if a child requests or agrees to receive gender-affirming care that involves medical interventions, including but not limited to puberty blocking medication, hormonal treatments, or sexual altering surgeries that may result in irreparable harm to the child. And that is the amendment.
We have a motion to amend policy 515 as read by Director Moore. Is there a second to that amendment?
I second it.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. And now discussion. Director Moore.
I actually, in my comments, this was my discussion. I think it's important because of the fact that I think it's such a dangerous precedent, and the 14th Amendment does protect parental rights. I understand that in some instances, especially if there's physical or emotional sexual abuse with a parent, I think that's a different story, but I think we're getting into territories that we shouldn't. And what I had stated before, I'm not going to read it again because it'll just take time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Second request for discussion?
Yeah.
Director Steves.
So I'd just like to refer to page 8, statement of rights. So the rights of parents and eligible students. If board members could take a look through 1 through 7.
Director Steves, may I clarify, are you in the policy now? Are you in?
I'm within the policy 515
Okay.
that's on board book
So,
with
page 8,
revision.
thank you.
Correct. Number 1, the right to inspect and review the student's educational records. The right to request the amendment of the student's educational records to ensure they are not inaccurate, misleading, or otherwise in violation of student privacy or other rights. Item 3, the right to consent to disclosures of personally identifiable information contained in the student's educational records, except to the extent of such consent is not required for disclosure pursuant to this policy, state, or federal law of the regulations promulgated thereunder, so on and so forth. So for me, as a parent, this is my statement of rights to view and access my child's educational data.
My amendment refers to the 8B private records not accessible to a parent. So there are some records, and so that's what my amendment refers to. It's because some parents, yes, they have access, but there's a part here in 8B that says private records not accessible to a parent, and that's what my main problem is. Thank you.
Last call.
And I'd like a roll call too, please.
Last call for discussion?
Mr. Chair, I apologize. I've been in another board meeting since noon today in the Twin Cities, and then I drove home. Did I miss this amendment being proposed to us earlier than just this evening?
No, but just now.
So I guess I'm confused about our process. I thought we have discussed time and time again, and maybe I'm wrong, that if we're going to have an amendment, it would be shared with us prior so that we could have some time to think about it and understand. So whether I agree or not, I'm still going to continue my practice of not approving amendments brought, if you will, in the 11th hour here at the meeting. So that's just my stance.
Director Wolf, you are correct. That was kind of the understanding, but as per Robert's rules, a director may submit a amendment at any time during the meeting, but that was, even when we had our notebook or our new board handbook, it is stated like Friday by noon or something like that. You are correct. So, yes.
And Mr. Chair, I fully respect Director Moore's right to do this and things of that nature, and I realize my stance and only my personal stance is primarily related to policies. I get it. Sometimes there's an amendment stated, but my concern with amendments in the 11th hour is oftentimes a lot of this is, backed by court cases and statutes and all that type of stuff and legal references, and I'm clearly not smart enough. I mean, this has a page and a half of legal references and statutes and cross references, and so anyway, that's just where I stand.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this policy was approved by the policy committee. It went to first reading, and now this, of course, the second reading. So, Director Moore.
Yes, this, what I was referring to, because that's when I had emailed you a couple of days ago and asked if I was okay with the changes that were made, that were being, that the changes that were, what was it, with revisions. I was okay with that, but then I asked if we were approving the whole policy. And I know this amendment has been brought forth numerous times, so I think we've discussed that and discussed it. So I'm just bringing it forth again. And because if it was just the revisions, I was fine with the revisions. In fact, some of the changes I thought were the wording was more appropriate. But since we're approving the whole policy, I had to add this amendment again. Thank you.
Director Boudreau?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I did not know this amendment was coming. It was my amendment. I offered it, I don't know, maybe
2023.
a couple of years ago. And I know that the issue has been litigated. I don't know how Minnesota is impacted. I don't know if it was designated for a certain group of states, but there has been a court ruling on this for, schools hiding the fact, that their children wanted to change their genders and not telling the parents. And so I feel like I need a little more information. I did not know it was going to be offered. I did not ask it to be offered. And it's certainly, Director Moore's right to offer whatever amendment, and I only knew of it now. So I'm feeling like we maybe need some information, legal information about voting on this.
Well, we do have a motion to amend, so we're going to
I
deal with the
understand.
motion to amend, and we're going to deal with the approval of the policy. So we do further discussion. So once again, as a reminder, a yes vote would be a yes for the amendment as proposed by Director Moore. A no vote would be not in favor of the amendment. So Director Steves, if you would do a roll call, please.
Linda Boudreau,
Aye.
Candace Knutson.
I'm sorry. Would you say it again? I is if I'm in agreement with it.
A yes vote is in favor of the amendment.
Okay.
A no vote is not in favor.
Thank you. No.
Linda Moore,
Aye.
Cassie Steves, no. Chad Wolf,
No.
John Bellingham.
No.
Amendment fails.
2-4. So now we still have a motion to approve the revisions to policy 515. Is there any further last discussion on the policy? Policy 515.
Yes, I'd like a roll call here too, please. Thank you.
Further discussion? Okay, Director Steves, if you do a roll call on this one.
Linda Boudreau,
Aye.
Candace Knutson,
No.
Linda Moore,
Aye. I mean, wait a minute. Now I'm confused. No, I will not. Without this amendment, I will not vote for this policy. So it's no.
Cassie
Sorry.
Steves, aye. Chad Wolf,
I'm an aye for this.
John Bellingham.
Aye.
And Cassie, you want to put me down for an aye?
Change the vote. So motion passes 5-1. Next, we'll move on to 8A3, revisions to policy 530, immunization requirements. Is there a motion for approval to the revisions of policy 530, immunization requirements?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Wolf. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Steves. Discussion. Director Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is 6B. The change was, they have a change here, and I'm just going to discuss this. I'm not adding an amendment. Student immunization records maintained by the school district are generally considered education records subject to the Family Education Records and Privacy Act, that's FERPA. The school district may not disclose personally identifiable information, which is PII, including immunization records, without parent or eligible student consent, unless a permissible exception applies. I guess I just have a problem with this. It's so broad. It's, unless a permissible exception applies. It's so broad. It's interpreted in many ways. And I think we really need as a school to define our terms. I know in research, you need to define your terms precisely. And I guess the public needs to know, what are the exceptions? Who decides the exceptions? Personally, I think this is another attempt to dismantle parental responsibilities and rights. and I will not be voting for this. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Mr. Bunty, do you have some follow-up clarification in relation to Ms. Moore's comments?
Yes, so when it speaks of permissible exception applies, what this would be be some type of outbreak in which the CDC or the Minnesota Department of Health would step in and say, we need your immunization records so that we know who is at risk or who is a potential carrier. So that would be one of those pieces where an exception would apply if we were required by a government agency to turn over records.
And just to follow that up, it's not personally identified information, so the CDC isn't calling and saying, what's Cassie Steve's vaccination
They would
status?
call and ask for all of the records,
A
which
general.
would include names and it would include vaccination records,
Okay.
but it wouldn't be tell us about this one individual person. It would be send everything to us.
If and when there's an outbreak of a communicable
That is
disease.
correct. And much of that is already sent. So
Is that all inclusive then on the permissible, I mean, this is so broad. Is that the only one, or is there more possible instances?
well, the only way I would turn over information is if by a court order from a judge, or if there was a government agency in a time of crisis that would usually have a court order. So to me, that's what that stands for.
So the only exception would be if there were an outbreak, correct?
No, an exception would be if I had a court order.
Well, court order, I mean.
Yes.
Court order or outbreak.
Or outbreak that would come with a court order, usually from the government agency.
All right, thank you for the clarification.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion for approval to the revisions of policy 530. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Lastly, is there a motion for approval of revisions to policy 618, assessment of student achievement? Also move this approval to revisions to policy 618, assessment of student achievement. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Wolf. Discussion. Director Moore.
Thank you. I actually had a constituent ask me, she says, we're adding health to the mix now. She said, and actually, she said, what does this have to do with achievement? You know, we're talking reading, writing, and math. And adding health, this is, again, such a broad category. And the questions were, you know, what are these standards? Whose standards are we talking about here? Is this going to be forced vaccinations? Does this have to do with gender pronouns, transitioning into different gender roles? I guess the question that I received was that, like, again, what does this have to do with achievement, with reading, writing, and math? We are working on improving our reading, writing, and math, and we have a long way to go. Then we throw health into the mix. I guess some people are a little cautious about that. What does that mean? So I am having a problem with that.
Further discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Director Boudreau.
On page 2, there's a definition of cultural competence. And I have no worries about the definition. The sentence doesn't make sense. The words "and will" on the third line, they just don't fit in there. So I don't know if, just something to mention as we move forward.
Ms. Maduro, what was that again? Where? On page 2?
Page 2, item D.
Thank you.
Line 3.
Okay.
It just doesn't work well as a sentence. Maybe the committee can just check with MSBA if they're the ones coordinating it.
I believe there's a comma that is supposed to be after will. So it should say, and will to interact with, to this, to, I believe, but
The will to interact, is that
no.
what you think
then
it would
should
be?
And will to interact effectively with community of different cultures, native languages, and socioeconomic groups. I'm not an English
I
major.
don't think
but
that "to" should be in there, Jamie, and will interact effectively.
We can check on that if you would
Yeah,
like us
it
to.
just doesn't, it's not smooth, not right. It's a minor detail. I'm not going to object to the policy.
I interpret that as you have the ability to interact and you have the will, the dedication, the effort to interact effectively with people of different cultures. That's why I believe there's not a comma there. That's how I interpret it, so.
Okay.
Further discussion? Let's call for discussion. We have a motion for approval of revisions to policy 618, assessment of student achievement. Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 5-1. Move on to agenda item number 9, committee reports, Finance Committee, Director Boudreau.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee meeting was held virtually on May 18th today at 7:30 a.m. The committee actions include approval of the minutes from the April 13th meeting, approval of a 2027 Faribault High School field trip request presented by Ben Beaupre, approval of a continuing contract for third-party billing services for special ed staff presented by Rob Daynard, approval of multifunction printer services based on RFP process presented by Mike Birding, approval of voice over internet protocol services based on RFP process presented by Mike Birding, approval of a food service management services recommendation based on RFP process and pending MDE approval presented by Barbie Ressler. Approval of a revised 2025-26 budget, which will be presented to board members tonight by Barbie. Financial performance data presented, the April student count showed 2 students less than March and 31 below our initial projection. April investment report shows 26.8 thousand in earned interest and a balance of 19.48 million. April comparative financial report notes the 103,000 energy credit reflects an appearance of overspending in the year-to-date HVAC totals, which is not the case. Analytical report of general fund expenditures shows the district at 72% in expenditures, which is on par for this time of year. The meeting was adjourned. Next meeting is scheduled for June 8th at 7:30 a.m.
Well done, Director Boudreau. 9B, Community Education Advisory Council, Director Steves.
I'm just pulling up my notes here. So the vast majority of that meeting was held at the Roosevelt Early Learning Center in what will be the new indoor playground space. Cassie Riopel's over in the back. I think that's a great community group comprised of a lot of public, private parents and community members. Yeah, we're really excited for that Roosevelt space to be complete.
Thank you, Director Steves. We'll move on to agenda item number 10. I'm looking at the time here. 6:49. I believe the board could use a recess here because we have quite a lengthy remainder of it here. So I'm going to issue a recess until 7 o'clock. We will resume at 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Oh. And it only blooms in the spring.
I'll call the meeting back to order from our recess. We're now on agenda item number 10. 10A, gifts donations, resolution 26-26. Accepting gifts donations are as follows. Donations to support DECA, ICDC include K&G Manufacturing, $250. LeCans Marine Incorporated, $200. North Star Recreation LLC, $200. Jason Rare LLC, $600. Faribault Dairy Queen Brazier, $200. Comprehensive Wealth Solutions LLC, $100. Chad and Courtney Wolf, $550. Donations to the Faribault Community School nests include Faribault Supporting Families, Toiletries, and Household Supplies valued at $400, and Health Finders Dental Lincoln dental kits for students valued at $200. Faribault Booster Club donated $5,400 for the annual Score Vision contract to operate the scoreboards in Nomeland Gym. Michael Palmquist donated a variety of brand new tennis shoes in various sizes, approximate value $1,150, to support students in need, especially those involved in sports. The Faribault High School Distinguished Alumni Program / Faribault Foundation donated $1,000 to support the Community School Initiative district-wide. And lastly, the Faribault Area Chamber of Commerce donated $1,660.05 to Lincoln Elementary School for busing to the second grade field trip to Shattuck, the third grade farm tour to Kubal Farm, and the third grade farm tour to Bauer Farm. Is there a motion for approval of Resolution 26-26, accepting gifts and donations?
So move.
Thank you, Director Boudreau. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Knudsen. And discussion. Director Moore.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just want to thank all the donors. I think this is great. And I noticed the $1,000 donation by the Faribault Foundation. Wow, that's really generous. I think for the public, though, it'd be appropriate to know how these dollars are being used at the community level. And before I vote on anything, I really want to know the details and fully understand what I'm voting for. So I did ask the question a couple of days ago, and I never received an answer. I'd like to know more of the details. And as Mr. Wolf, I agree with you. Sometimes, as stated, I don't like getting things the last minute, and the procedure is not to vote on something I haven't really looked at. And so I'd like to know a little more about that, please.
Well, the Faribault High School Distinguished Alumni Program, that's headed by Jill Fairgulin, which is part of the Faribault Foundation.
It's a fund under the foundation.
Fund under the foundation, thank you. They asked to take $1,000 out of their account and donate it to the Community School Initiative district-wide. They donated to the community school. So when we had our work session on, I believe, May 4th, they came and we had the big check from the foundation, and board members, and I think there were 3 people from the Distinguished Alumni Program here, took the picture, and then that money goes to the Community School Initiative, which is district-wide. So that's the explanation. Okay. So we do have a motion and a second for Resolution 26-26. Any further discussion? Further discussion? Director Steves, this is a roll call.
Linda Boudreau?
Aye.
Candace Knudsen?
Aye.
Linda Moore?
No.
Cassie Steves, aye. Chad Wolf?
Aye.
John Bellingham?
Aye.
Resolution passes 5-1.
Thank you. 10B, consider approval of Resolution 26-27, the 2026-2027 resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League. Is there a motion for approval of Resolution 26-27, the resolution for membership in the Minnesota State High School League for years 26-27?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Wolf. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Steves. And discussion. Mr. Gunderson is present here, but I just told him it's the same thing. We are a member of the, by doing this, we are a member of the Minnesota State High School League, and offering extracurricular activities, both in not just athletic, but the fine arts as well. Like that. So,
Mr. Chair, can I ask a question?
certainly, Director Wolf.
Mr. Gunderson, I'm putting you on the spot, and I didn't have you prep for this, but do you know how many, I'll say, unique students, so that my point of that is if I was in 3 sports, I would only count once, right? So unique students, belly buttons, as people would say. Sorry, thank you. Do you know how many students we have? I guess that would be between us and our co-ops, could be Bethlehem Academy, could be Shattuck. Do you have a roundabout number, how many students participate? I believe it would be 7th through 12th grade in our Minnesota State High School League activities, and that's anything from a sport to theater to DECA to whatever. Do you have a rough
Are you
number?
asking for unduplicated numbers? So
Yeah. So, you know, or you tell me whatever number you want to use. Just are they duplicated or unduplicated?
Just on the athletic side, because I have to turn that in here in a couple of weeks. You're talking about about 350 to 400 kids, and that's just at the high school and just with athletics.
Yeah.
That doesn't count all the kids that are in band, choir, orchestra. It doesn't count all the kids that put on the fall play, the spring musical, the one-act play, children's theater. Doesn't count if speech. It doesn't count. You know, we talked about the Big 9 Music Festival, all the kids that were involved in that. I mean, it's a number of things.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Mr. Gunderson, are robotics and trap shooting part of the high school league?
They're not part of the high school league.
Neither one of those two. Discussion, Director Moore.
Thank you. I'd just like to make a few comments. I think people know where I stand on this. But yesterday, as a nation, we rededicated the United States of America back to God and by inference to godly principles. It's interesting on this form, the Minnesota State High School League notes boys' sports and girls' sports. They actually denote a difference there. But yet, according to their rules and regulations, biological boys can be allowed in girls' locker rooms. It seemingly contradicts itself. By the way, I do believe it's a moot point that when we claim that it won't happen here, that we have an extensive process by which boys are allowed in girls' locker rooms. I think we're kidding ourselves. My point is, if we claim to uphold godly principles but yet vote for this resolution, we are violating our godly values, and that's hypocrisy. I don't think we should be sitting on the fence. You're either for God or against God. This vote will show where each of us stands. Lastly, choose this day, and God will not be mocked. Thank you.
Further discussion, Director Boudreau.
Thank you. I'd like to provide a little information and also my viewpoint. I believe that vulnerabilities exist currently for girls participating in Minnesota State High School League sports. And I realize that this is a conflict there's a lawsuit still ongoing between the Department of Justice and the Minnesota Department of Education, as well as the High School League. It is unsettled, and it is in regarding to what they consider an unfair discriminatory practice against female students. So Minnesota policies and practices create an unfair competition, deny girls equal athletic opportunities, and expose girls to a hostile educational environment with heightened risk of physical injury and psychological harm. This is the Justice Department's statement. I realize the importance of having opportunities for all of our students, and I would never deny those opportunities for people who want to take part in athletics, band, orchestra, speech, plays, drama, and fine arts such as those. But I have to just verify with Mr. Gunderson that any girl that may feel themselves in risk in a sports, competitive sports situation, I am, I guess, assured that they have the right to say, I'm not going to participate. I am not going to take part in this. I refuse. Maybe at risk for harm, maybe at risk for just fearful. And I just want to clarify that every athletic female should have that right. Do they have that right, Mr. Gunderson, that you are aware of? Do they have the right to say, I am not going to compete against this person?
Yeah, I think
I mean,
anybody who's uncomfortable playing and feels like there's potential for harm. Absolutely.
and that is what I want to let parents know, that their girls have the right to withdraw from competition if they're feeling threatened physically, and maybe someone that outsizes them. And this is my personal view, that parents need to protect their girls in that respect. But I will not deny the opportunities for other students to take part in the high school league. So I will be voting yes.
Further discussion?
Mr. Chair, would you like for me to give the rundown on how this would potentially change, or do you just want to move forward with a vote?
I'd like your input on it.
Okay, so as stated before, and I believe this is the third year in a row I've said this. Obviously, we have the Department of Justice at the federal level that is in conflict with the state statutes at the Minnesota state level. There is a lawsuit that is in process right now. So that is a new event since a year ago. We do this every year. Every school district does this every year. So that new event in the past year is that there is a lawsuit against the state of Minnesota and against the State High School League because of the differences in views on that. If there is to be a change, the judgment would have to be on the side of the federal government, or there would have to be an agreement between the two out of court. If that were to happen, then what would happen then is it would go through the courts. It would go from the state level to the legislature. I'm guessing it would probably have to go through the governor's office. It would then be passed on to the Minnesota State High School League. All pieces of information and literature would be redrawn, and then it would be passed down to us to then vote. So that is the process it would take. I would be surprised if we would have that in place by next year. I can see us sitting here a year from now and me having the exact same conversation with this board. So,
thank you for the input, Director Benty. Superintendent Benty, not Director. Superintendent Benty. Anyone else have anything? This decision is, once again, as we've done in years past, is not just for Faribault Public Schools. This is for our community.
Right.
As we co-op with Bethlehem Academy, who's accepted to be in the Minnesota State High School League, as well with their activities, with Shattuck, with Medford, with Randolph, Waseca too, Mr. Gunderson?
Yeah, Waseca.
Waseca, all these. So without us joining the Minnesota State High School League, this community, this school district, our students would be devastated. So, further discussion. With this, Director Steves, this is a roll call.
Linda Boudreau,
Aye.
Candace Knudsen,
Aye.
Linda Moore,
No.
Cassie Steves, aye. Chad Wolf,
Aye.
John Bellingham.
Aye.
Passes 5-1.
Thank you. 10C, thank you, Mr. Gunderson, very much.
Thank you.
10C, consider approval of extended trip request to New York City. This is an action item as well. Is there a motion for approval of an extended trip request to New York City?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Wolf. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Boudreau. Discussion was laid out, and this was approved by the Finance Committee this morning.
Mr. Chair, I can just speak to this briefly. So this is every other year, band, choir, and orchestra go on a trip somewhere. And this year they've chosen, or for next school year, New York City has been chosen. So this is not their first time going to New York City. They've been there before. But this is an every other year event for those students. And there's an incredibly detailed itinerary in the board packet for everyone to see exactly where they're going to be and what they're going to be doing. So,
With, I believe, Mr. Benti, there was a couple options as well, based on fuel cost and
Exactly.
location, et cetera.
Yes.
It was very, very well done. Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Director Boudreau.
I just wanted to mention that the students raised their money, their own money funds to go on these trips. And so they get very creative. So if you're asked to buy a candy bar,
Or a mattress.
it does not cost the school anything. And it was a very detailed and comprehensive plan.
And there are scholarship opportunities for students
Yes.
as well. with that, yes. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, we have a motion for approval of the extended trip request to New York City. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. 10D, consider approval of revisions for the 2026-2027 school calendar. Is there a motion for approval of the revisions to the 2026-2027 school calendar?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Boudreau. I will second it. And discussion, first I will just turn it over to Director of Teaching and Learning, Ms. Julie Hull, for a little explanation.
So there are two adjustments on this calendar for your consideration. The first one is the shift in the last day, almost the second to last day there on the bottom, the graduation date. It was previously scheduled to be on a Friday due to some recent events. The proposal is to switch it back to a Sunday. Earlier in the calendar, you can see some highlighting there, and that is to shift the starting date for RELC students. RELC is working really hard to become one unified building, and so they would like to do entrance conferences in a similar way between pre-K and K and have them come on the same day of school, but they're looking at doing more family engagement and one-on-one conferences with families and some entrance conferences in a different way than they've done in the past. So they are proposing that be brought forward to you. So this did come from staff.
Thank you, Ms. Hull. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, RELC is a new acronym.
Yes. So that's Roosevelt Early Learning Center.
Thank you.
We refer to that as RELC for short, kind of like ALC.
Thank you for asking that, Director Wolf. I was trying to think of what acronym. Further discussion? Director Moore?
Yeah, I see I tried to look from the new to the old one. I think we've added a day for secondary. Wait a minute, yeah. 167 this year, 166. So I like the day. I like the fact that we added one day. And I know maybe one or two constituents would like that too, so. Thank you.
Any further discussion? There's a motion for approval of revisions to the 2026-2027 school calendar. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. 10E, consider approval of the 2027-2028 school calendar. Is there a motion for approval of the 2027-2028 school calendar?
So moved.
I'll take, thank you, Director Moore, for the motion, and a second, Director Boudreau.
Second.
Discussion, again, I'll turn it over to Ms. Hull.
So similar process to what we've done since I've been here, probably before my time. But we send out a survey every year for our staff to fill out to give us their feedback on what they would like to see in a calendar. And then we also have the contractual things that we have to consider in our teaching our teaching negotiations. Their bargaining unit has specific number of days that they have for different things in our district that we have to consider. So this draft was made with our staff in mind and with a committee of staff to develop what was our fourth draft is what you see in front of you right now, which was voted on, and one of our teachers commented that this is probably their favorite calendar they've ever seen.
Wow.
Discussion? Further discussion? Let's call for discussion. Hearing none. All in favor of the motion for the approval of the 2027-2028 school calendar signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. 10F, consider approval of the K-5 English Language Arts ELA curriculum. Is there a motion for approval of the K-5 English Language Arts ELA curriculum?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Wolf, and a second, Director Boudreau. Discussion, I think first I will just simply turn it over to you once again, Ms. Hull.
So I'm just going to give you a brief timeline and how our teachers ranked what the proposal is for you today. Well, maybe. Oh, there you go. Mr. Birding has it in the back for me. You can go to the next one, Mike. So you can see that this process has been taking place for several years in our district. To the 22-23 school year, MDE put together a cohort of people to talk about the science of reading, and Faribault had some people that participated. And what came out of that was actually the rubric that was created for them to judge different resources against. So that's what that was in the 22-23 school year. Then the 23 school year is where the READ Act was the first year that we had to implement things. And what we ended up looking at is Bridge to Read is our resource, and we did some site visits, did some piloting to implement it in the 24-25 school year, which is also when we started letters and early childhood letters. We really felt strongly about that being a good training opportunity because it was so in-depth with our teachers. And then with that came the MDE list of Tier 1 resources. So that's what that rubric helped to create, is that list of resources. They had promised a certain number of resources, and that resource list changed from time to time. So when we were looking at last school year, we had initially talked about bringing this proposal for you to be implemented this school year, but with the changes that were already happening with the reorganization and finishing of letters, we decided to survey the staff to see where they felt like they needed time, and they asked for it to be one more year out to allow them to adjust to the new structure of the district and to finish letters training so that they could really understand what it was that they were needing to look for in a resource besides just pretty colors and all of the things. So where we're at this year, the resource list expanded. So what they initially had was a resource that was called EL Open Up Education, and then they had another one called Wit and Wisdom. So initially we thought that was going to be our pilot, but we know that our teachers really were hoping to see Benchmark Advance on that list, and the READ Act did expand it to include Benchmark Advance. So we shifted our pilot last minute to include the EL Open Up and Benchmark Advance. So that's what our teachers piloted this school year. So after they got done piloting, we asked them to fill out specific questions really gauged at the science of reading with that resource. We also showcased both resources for any teacher to come view and give their feedback on. So you will see the questions here are right there for you, so I won't read them for you individually. But when you take a look at EL Open Up Education, everything is rated on a scale of 1 to 6, 1 being low, 6 being high. EL Education is that middle column. Benchmark Advance is that furthest away column. And you can see on this slide and the following slide, Benchmark Advance outranks the EL Open Up resource pretty significantly. So out of a 6 possible score, we have anywhere from 5.3 to 5.8. And you'll see at the next slide, very similar rankings. We also asked them in the next slide to think about things like prep time, the amount of time it takes to look at the resource and really be planful of it. So Mike, if you go to the next slide, you'll see that's where we saw a huge discrepancy between EL Open Up and Benchmark Advance. EL Open Up is really that understanding by design, backwards design approach, and takes several hours of prep each night. My own children actually had a similar experience. Another district was piloting EL Open Up as one of their resources, and the teacher's like, I love it, but it takes me 10 hours each night to get ready for the next day just for ELA, and that's a heavy lift. So the proposal bringing forward to you today is to purchase Benchmark Advanced per teacher recommendation, and you can see the bottom here on this slide is a quote. EL Education, we did a 7-year quote, and their total is there, and then Benchmark Advance is a 6-year quote, and you can see that it is pretty significantly lesser in cost. Teachers did not know the cost. We did not get quotes when we did the pilot, so that had nothing to do with their decision. That's just a bonus to the decision that they're hoping that we make tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. Discussion, questions?
Mr. Chair.
Director Wolf.
Ms. Hull, question for you. The N in EL Education, in parentheses there, N equals 7, and under Benchmark Advance, N equals 4. Can you explain what those?
That's the number of teachers that piloted for an extended period of time.
Any reason why one was almost twice the amount as the other?
Because Benchmark Advance was a last-minute shift. So people had already done some work in the summer to prep themselves for what the resource was going to be with EL Open Up and Wit and Wisdom, and then we had a last-minute shift.
Okay, thank you.
And Wit and Wisdom and EL are very, very similar resources.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Director Moore.
I just have a question here. It's a curriculum, correct? I know, according to Minnesota law, this public school board we should evaluate all curriculum. I haven't even seen this. I know some people have, but I haven't. And the fact that maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. I do like the fact that you talked about letters, but in the fact that I haven't seen the curriculum, and I think that all school board members should have had a chance to see the curriculum well in advance. I'm just, how can I vote on something I don't really know anything about? You don't talk about the curriculum there, you talk about so I guess I'm just, why didn't all board members receive this curriculum a little bit ahead of time if we have to vote on it?
I would say I've never heard of that in a school district being the case.
Okay, well, according to Minnesota law, the public school board should evaluate all curriculum, so. I'm assuming if we do evaluation, and I can give you the statute here eventually. Okay. But I haven't even looked at, just even if it isn't a statute, the fact that I haven't looked at it, I don't know if it's good or bad or anything, so I really don't feel I can vote on it right now, so thank you.
Discussion. For my chair, this is a recommendation coming from our Teaching and Learning Department. The recommendation, I trust and believe in their professionalism and thoroughness in vetting this and what they did, so I am fully confident in this curriculum and how it was vetted and how it was presented. Any further discussion? We have a motion for approval of the K-5 English Language Arts curriculum. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 5-1. 10G. Thank you, Ms. Hall, very much. 10G, consider approval of Resolution 26-28, probationary teachers to be non-renewed for the 2026-2027 school year. Is there a motion for approval of Resolution 26-28, probationary teachers to be non-renewed for the 26-27 school year?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Boudreau. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Steves. Discussion. So this is the recommendation for approval of that resolution, placing the probationary teacher on the non-renewal status for the 26-27 school year. Any further discussion? Discussion. Director Steves, this is a roll call item.
Linda Boudreau.
Aye.
Candace Knutson.
Aye.
Linda Moore.
Aye.
Cassie Steves, aye. Chad Wolf.
Aye.
John Bellingham.
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Thank you, Director Steves. 10H, consider approval of the recommendation for multifunction printer managed print services. Is there a motion for approval of the recommendation for multifunction printer managed print services?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Steves. There's a second.
Second.
Thank you, Director Knudsen. And discussion, I think we'll have Ms. Raisler and Mr. Birding, if would like to come up, you're part of this as well too, so.
Sure.
So I just have you go through the recommendation here, and then we'll go from there.
Make sure that my mouse is working here. This one. Okay. So at this time, for the multi-function printer and managed services, after doing our RFP process, we are recommending that we move our managed print services from our current provider of E.O. Johnson to Marco. And this RFP was based on primarily cost, but some other factors as well, such as features availability, understanding of the needs, and it's on there. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what they all are. So I'm also trying to stream and handle the computer at the same time, so forgive me.
Mike is doing double duty, so
Yes.
so we were looking at software integration, functionality,
Yes.
all of those different pieces, and so just weighing what each vendor brought to the table for us.
This presentation was presented to the Finance Committee this morning and approved unanimously as well. Discussion. Further discussion?
Just a comment, I appreciate the bid tabulations on the RFPs that have been coming out lately. Helps us get a better understanding of the decision-making process.
Very good, thank you. Further discussion? Director Moore?
Yeah, I reiterate what Ms. Steve said. Yeah, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Further discussion? We have a motion for approval of the recommendation for the multifunction printer managed print services. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. 10I, consider approval of recommendation for phone system. Is there a motion for approval of the recommendation for the phone system as stated in board book?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Boudreau. I will second that. And once again, Mr. Birding and Ms. Raisler.
Yeah, so after our RFP process, I can be a little more diligent about what this looked like because I had a lot more people involved. We had our level 2 technician, Tim Beadle, who does a lot of the work on our phones, help us build the process of the things that we're looking for in terms of a VoIP system. And so we use that as criteria. So if you're looking at the number of criteria that we put points on in the bid tabulation, there's more on the VoIP system than there is on the MFPs. However, at this time, we would like to make the recommendation that we move our VoIP service from our current provider of MetroNet to BevCom.
Discussion or questions, board members? Director Moore.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Birding, I really appreciate. I had some questions, and I had questions over the weekend, and you answered them in a timely manner, and you were very concise and very detailed. I appreciate that. Thank you.
For the chair,
Director Wolf.
Mr. Birding, would you just explain to our full board and the audience, like you did this morning, what with survivability and without survivability, what that means?
Yes, absolutely. So our network, our internet network, exists in what we call kind of a hub and spoke. So our main internet comes into one building, and then it is on dark fiber that we light ourselves on both ends going to each of the sites. So what that means is if we have a situation where we lose internet service at our main building, we will lose internet service at all the individual sites. However, sometimes you can lose internet service without losing power. So survivability was an option that was provided by BevCom to put an appliance in each of the individual sites that would store some of that SIP information for the VoIP phones. So that way, if we lose internet, we don't have to worry about us not being able to make calls internally in that building. So hypothetically, if we lose internet at our core, but I still have power at Jefferson, I can still extension dial Jefferson, or I can still extension dial the Jefferson's principal's office, but I wouldn't be able to call externally, and I'd still be able to access overhead paging and some of those things. So having that survivability allows those individual sites to maintain extension callings within those sites.
Mr. Chair, if I can add, so when Mr. Birding and I spoke about this, we brought to the board a while ago some concerns that we had around, backup generators and stuff like that. 2 times we've had the same telephone pole hit by a vehicle right outside the high school. The high school is our hub, and what happens is power has been taken out to half of the building, and each time it was half of the building that housed basically the brain of our district. And the time the clock starts ticking, and my first call to Mike is, Mike, power went out. How much time do we have left? And because we are about an hour of battery backup before we are out. And the issue is that our phones go down and our PA systems go down. So we then have no way to contact even the people in our own buildings. So it was very important that we had some type of backup to help prevent that, whether it be diesel generators that we put on the roof of the building, or whether it be some type of survivability piece. So this was a critical add for us that's going to help us weather even storms as well, let alone power outages. So.
Thank you, Mr. Venti. Director Moore.
Yes, from what you were saying, Mr. Venti, I'm assuming, and I should ask, and I apologize, you have a doctorate. I said Mr. I should say Dr.
Oh, I don't have a doctor. No.
What's his ED?
Just a specialist.
Oh, okay, he's a specialist, sorry. Okay, but from what I can see, this could be a really safety issue if we don't do this, if we had an emergency where time is of the essence. I think if we didn't put this in place, we could have a scenario where it would be, if we had emergency time is of the essence, this could really be critical. So I think we need to do something like that.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. A lot of what we do with technology is balancing the cost versus the risk. We can prepare for an earthquake, but how likely is an earthquake going to happen, right? Where internet outage over the past couple of years is probably going to happen. So whatever we can do to maintain some security in there is a top priority.
Any further discussion? We have a motion for approval of the recommendation for the phone system to BevCom. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Birding. Item 10J, consider approval of the recommendation for Food Service Management Company. Is there a motion for the approval of the recommendation for the Food Service Management Company as written in Board Book?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Boudreau. I will second that, and I will turn it over to Ms. Raisler here.
Thank you so much. So as you have in front of you, the recommendation that we've provided comes from a committee of 4. So we collectively looked at 4 different vendors who chose to provide us with a proposal. We did have a mandatory meeting, which is part of what MDE requires of us. And as a side note, MDE has a heavy hand in how this particular RFP works, in that they decide what the criteria is. We get to put the value to that criteria for all but one category, and then they do have to also approve what we are recommending. So this is a little bit different process than the last 3 RFPs that you've seen. The committee that worked on this RFP includes Dr. Stacy Fox to represent the middle school, Amira Williams, as she indicated, so it was great to have student voice from the high school. Kim Hagan, who is our accounting specialist, she works very closely with all of our food service pieces, and myself. We were hopeful to have Ashley Benhart, but she was unable to assist with this process because we also wanted elementary voice. Going through the process then, as I said, we had 5 vendors that attended the mandatory meeting that was held on April 28th. Those vendors were Sodexo, who's our current vendor, Taher, Southwest Food Service Excellent, also known as SFE, Chartwells, and then the 5th vendor was Lunchtime. Of those 5 that attended the mandatory meeting, 4 did provide us a proposal. What we are asking and what we're recommending and asking for approval for tonight is that we go with the company Taher Incorporated if it is approved by MDE. So we do need to have that caveat in there. MDE currently has the data. They are looking at it and will let me know that they have, more than likely, they will approve it. So if you look at the bid tabulation, the MDE bid point calculator, that particular document just kind of indicates how the point system works. It is not up to us as far as points for price. That has to be the highest value. And so we set that value at 40%. You can see the rest of what is called the non-price points, and they are listed there for your review. What I tried to do here was to indicate what the criteria was, and then maybe some questions for us to ask as we're looking through the documents. And you may have caught Amira saying hundreds of pages. The average is 350 pages for these proposals per proposal. So it is a lot to go through, a lot to read, and a lot to decipher. So that's what I tried to do for our group, was to put some questions to, give some substance about this is what you might want to think about when trying to score those. So what you're seeing then is each company that provided us a proposal listed on the very top row under company name, how much the price proposed was, and then the rest of the non-price point scoring. You'll notice at the bottom, the total points show 18, but the non-price points, due to rounding, Taher came in with 10.4 points, where SFE, who would be our runner-up, came in with 9.78 points. So again, our recommendation is to go with Taher.
Thank you. Discussion, questions? Director Wolf.
Mr. Chair, all the food equipment, the appliances, the district owns
Correct.
all of that, correct?
Correct. The district owns all of the equipment. We purchased that, yes.
So the biggest change is really who oversees the personnel
Correct.
and all that. Okay. Thank
Correct.
you. I appreciate it.
And
Yes.
supplies the product.
And so, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And I think this morning you stated, am I pronouncing it right? Taher?
Taher.
Taher services how many different school
They
districts
serve,
approximately?
Yeah, they serve approximately 50 school districts in Minnesota. And as a point of reference, Sodexo supports 1 at this time.
Thank you.
Director Moore.
Yes, I noticed this just came out today. Why so late?
Thank you for asking that question. Yes, it is late, and I understand that. Part of the process is going through MDE and having to rework some of the mandatory paperwork, backup data, those kinds of things that they require. And then we also have to give time for having bids in the paper, allowing enough time so that these vendors can reply, those different pieces. So it did come, we actually got the bid proposals on May 8th, but because of the amount of work that it is to read through all those proposals, it was not, I did not set a deadline for the group until Thursday at the end of the day.
I guess my problem is I know some constituents do go through the agenda and they do look through things. And the fact that, most people work. And so the fact that they got it today, they aren't going to be able to see it or look through it. And I don't think that's acceptable.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I have a question. Do we typically include the public in our RFPs and reviewing them? I mean, it was mentioned in previous finance meetings, previous meetings here, that we were going to be doing RFPs on all of those areas. And I don't know that we invite the public to do those RFPs. We have the outcomes of those, tabulations and the rubrics, why those decisions were made. I believe the public should be pleased with the fact that we are looking for suitable providers that maybe we can save some dollars on. And I know we have in previous RFPs, so I just want to thank you for that. I think that takes a lot of work to put RFPs out in all these areas and then review them. And I think our public will be very pleased with that. And I know we appreciate it.
If I may, you're missing the point, Ms. Federo. I think that people do, this is their tax dollars, and they deserve to look at that if they wish. This came out today, and I don't think that's acceptable. I'm sorry, but I don't.
Director Moore, I don't believe it's your purview to criticize a district employee based on, we did our best she did her best on getting us as soon as the information was there, providing a timely manner. It's a recommendation to us here. You can analyze the information. As Director Boudreau said, we were elected by, I don't think the public should be very grateful that we had this checklist and as thorough as this process was. So to criticize an employee of the district for not having it in a timely manner or whatever and doing our best, come from a different recommendation, I believe is very unprofessional. So, further discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a little different angle, but I also wanted to state that when Ms. Hull was up here, that district advisory committee approved that curriculum. And we have to, as our role, I looked through our handbook. I didn't see anywhere in there that our role was to decide on what curriculum we use. I looked it up. Maybe I'm missing it, but if you can find it, let me know.
So I should approve a curriculum that I do not know.
Let's keep our comments to the motion at hand, which is approval of the recommendation for food service management.
May I say one thing?
What is it?
Okay. I do not work for any of you. I work for the public.
Let's move on.
I have a
Move
question.
on. We have a motion.
I have a comment, or I have a question.
Director Knudsen?
So does the quality of the food change with this?
It will be a different company that will provide what they feel. They had to provide us like sample menus. We did not sample their food, but they did provide us sample menus. And then I also did do reference checks with other school districts to ensure that they felt quality and service and those kinds of things were there. So yes, this particular company does a bit more scratch made versus just
nice.
Commodities and frozen foods and those kinds of things.
Okay. And then for the employees that worked for Sodexo, will there be a turnover then?
Right. So usually what happens in these instances is that the people that are currently working for Sodexo would then turn to work for Taher, because they are our, they're community members for the most part. Our kids are familiar with these folks. So I can't say that every employee will turn to TAHR, but that is normally how that process works.
Thank you.
Last comments. We are going to vote. We have a motion for approval of the recommendation for food service management to TAHR if approved by the Minnesota Department of Education. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 5-1. 10K, consider approval of the fiscal year 2026 final budget. Is there a motion for approval of the fiscal year 2026 final budget? Thank you, Director Wolf. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Steves. Ms. Raisler, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, so in your packet, you do have the FY26 final budget. And I just want to hit a few highlights as you've received the adopted. We already went through a revised in November, so this is just tying up some loose ends and talking about some recalculations that we had to do. So the first few pages are just introducing our school board and district administration, as well as our school administration. And then on page 4, we get to the budget revision highlights. So on this particular page, you will see that in revenues, we're seeing a decrease. And what I want to point out with this is that the decrease is taken from the last approved budget, which is the revised budget, where we had initially anticipated gaining students, but we have now found that that has not come to fruition. So we're seeing on page 4 that general education formula, we have decreased that from the revised budget to this final budget, $780,924. The adopted budget, if we would compare to this final to the adopted, it would be about $330,000 difference. We did do some updates to our title funding, and so we saw an increase in revenues of $342,076. And then in working with special ed director, special services director, Rob Denhart, we did talk about recognizing in the budget the amount of funding that he goes through when working on tuition billing. And so we are choosing to recognize that in the budget in the amount of $2 million. How it's been recognized in the past is simply put into the fund balance. But because we know that figure ahead of time, we've decided that that's the practice that we'll continue to move forward with. In the expenditures, we did have an increase to our salaries and benefits due to contract settlements, and so we did see an increase of about $146,000. Capital and LTFM, again, seeing an increase there as we continue to work on our different projects, our HVAC areas, and also then some of those remodels that we have been doing, some roof work, et cetera. And then our other purchase services, anything that we, contractors, our transportation, and then also our supplies, maintenance supplies, whatever that might be, we did see an increase of $579,000. So what we are seeing here then is an unassigned fund balance reprojection to be reprojection to be $8.679 million, or 12.5% for our undesignated unreserved fund balance, which again, that minimum fund balance we need to hit is 9.5, so we're exceeding that. And that's coming from the revised budget that you approved in November, where we had about $7.4 million, or 10.84% in that fund balance. The next page, we're talking about other changes then. There were a few minor changes in our other funds. Food service, there was just minimal changes. I didn't feel they were even worthy to put on in this particular area. Community ed, we had some modifications, so we had expenditures and revenues coming to a net increase in expenditures of $165,000. Our building construction, we are at the end of our building construction funds, and so there's an intentional zero out of those dollars. So we decreased expenditures by $196,911, meaning then that they have to go into Fund 1, into our general fund, to finish whatever projects we may have left. Our debt service fund did not change. Our internal service fund is a good thing. Our collection of insurance premiums are greater than our expenditures, and so we are seeing an increase in that fund balance by about $277,000 of more revenue than what we had anticipated. The next slide shows enrollment trends and projections. And what I'd like to point out on this page is where you see FY26 adopted, the amount of students that I had anticipated for the beginning of the school year was 3,057. When we went through our revise, when we were hopeful that we were gaining more kids from the closed charter school, we used an amount of 3,086 kids. But what we're seeing today is that we're down to 3,027. And so that's the number that I've used to do the final budget, is that 3,027. That's why we saw a decrease in some of the general ed funding. The next page then shows what was approved as a revised budget back in November. So this shows where we started the year, our revenues and expenditures for not only the unassigned fund balance, but all of the restricted fund balance areas, and then what we are projecting for our end of year fund balances in both the unassigned as well as the restricted, and what that net effect was. So in November, we were expecting our general fund to go down $1.45 million. The next page then simply shows the data for the revised budget that was approved in November for funds 2, 4, 6, 7, 20, and 45. So in total, if you look at that total all funds on page 8, you're seeing a decrease of $4.8 million, decrease of expenditures over revenues for all funds inclusive. The final budget then, the one that I'm requesting for approval tonight, shows a different look. And so, of course, the beginning balance data is the same. And then we apply the revenue and expenditure updates that we have. And so for our unassigned fund balance, we are seeing that I'm projecting our year to end at almost 8.7 million, or 12.5% of fund balance. And again, that's an increase from what we had anticipated for the revised budget. The restricted areas also then have been updated, and if you look at the bottom total general fund line, you're seeing that rather than a 1.4% decrease, it's a 1.2% decrease. The next page, page 10, shows funds 2, which again has a minimal amount, but please note we are trying to spend money here as best we can. We still have an excess fund balance that the state is asking us to spend. We are supposed to be having only a fund balance of about 6 months worth of reserve, and we are in excess of that. However, when the remodeling is done at McKinley, we're hoping to spend quite a bit of dollars there to deplete that. Eventually, I feel that the state is going to ask us to go back down to 3 months of fund balance where we were prior to COVID. COVID is where we were able to increase to 6 months, but we're struggling to get down there. So we have a lot of nice new equipment, so that's a good thing. Community ed, you can see the restricted fund balance as well as our community education, early childhood, school readiness, and adult basic education. I just marvel at how well our community education fund balances look. Kudos to Cassie Riopel and her team for, doing some great planning and having those reserves. Not every district has positive fund balances in their community ed. So, like I said, kudos to Cassie and her team. You'll note that the construction fund then, we do not have a fund balance, and that's on purpose. We intentionally zeroed that out as we are completing our projects. We will continue to have a debt service fund balance as we're continuing to pay off our bonds that we have. Our internal service fund, again, that's our self-insurance fund, and we are growing that fund balance, so we're going in the right direction. And then our OPEB irrevocable trust, which is for our retirees, continues to be about the same. The next slide, or the next page 11, simply shows revenues and expenditures in a bit different manner. So on top, we have revenues, and those are totaled by our revenue sources, such as taxes, other sources, state sources, and federal sources. So each column then represents which fund they belong to. So the first column is a total of all the funds combined. The second column shows where we are with general fund. So as an example, our local property taxes in the general fund is about 10 million that we collect from local taxpayers. And then, of course, the lion's share of our income for the general fund comes from state sources. Food service, you'll note that is not a taxable fund, but we do have other sources. We have vended food contracts, and we do receive state funding, but the highest value that we get, or the most money that we receive in, is coming from federal. Community ed, there is a property tax component, as well as other local and county, and a lot of the other is coming from participations and grants and those different areas. We have our state sources and our federal sources. The building fund is strictly other, and that's interest only. Debt service is a taxable item. And then our internal is coming from all local sources, as well as the irrevocable trust is coming from interest as well. So that's what the revenues look like and how they're laid out. The next section then describes the expenditures, and this is by program, so the program area of the expenditures. So our administration, you're seeing, is at 2.5 million. The vast majority of our expenditures are coming from regular instruction and our special ed. And so we will see a chart in just a moment that describes what those particular percentages are. All of our food service then is considered pupil support services. Community ed, we're generally in the community ed area or pupil support. The building fund, of course, is going to be sites and buildings for our construction. And then we have debt service, our internal service fund, and irrevocable trust. The next page then gives the, if you're interested in the bottom line, what we're doing is we're just showing what we started with, what we're ending with as far as expenditures over revenues. The pie chart here, again, explains our sources of revenue. So our state sources, as stated earlier, is our largest share, and that's 77%. Local property tax, 14%. Federal is 6%, and then other is 3%. In the expenditure areas then, again, our regular instruction is at 25.9 million, or 36%. Vocational is 1%, and special ed is 25%. Those three combined then is 63% of where our expenditures go, as it should be, going to our greatest asset, which is our teachers and our students. Instructional support services, that is 8%, and those would be things like our tech department, our media, staff development, our teaching and learning curriculum, those kinds of things. Pupil support services is 11%. That would be our transportation, social workers, safe schools areas, nurses. Our site and buildings, that would be our maintenance and facilities, is at 11%. Fiscal and other programs is $459,000, and that's like our property insurance, our casual and property. Administration, you'll see, is at 4%, which is lower than the state average. Our district support services is $2.1 million, or 3%. Again, what I am asking for tonight then is approval of this final budget revision for FY26.
Thank you, Ms. Raisler. Excellent report on the fiscal year 2026 final budget. For discussion, I do have a question. Could you explain to me and the public here, on page 11, describe for us what is the debt service fund and what is the internal service fund? I know the irrevocable is the teacher retirement. What about those two?
Yep, the debt service fund is us paying off our bonds. So when we did construction, or any time that we take out a bond or refund a bond, we have a debt service. And so part of that is coming out in local levies. The internal service fund is our self-insured health.
Thank you. Just want a clarification on that. Discussion. Points of discussion.
Mr. Chair.
Director Wolf.
Superintendent Benty, I believe at some point you said that this revised budget is earlier in the calendar year by maybe a month or so.
That is
compared to
correct.
Previous years. How come?
That is, so Ms. Raisler asked me if we could go a month early this year with the revised budget. I'll let her answer, but I believe it's to get a jump on next year's.
Yes. The reason that I asked to do the final in May is to, yes, to get a jump on next year and to avoid confusion. I think it's really hard when we try to approve two budgets in the same meeting, remembering that we're talking about fiscal year 26 or fiscal year 27, and we do have different funding mechanisms that go along with how we have to calculate some of our revenues because the legislation ends their session in May, so it usually takes us a little time then to figure out how that works, and so it's nice to be able to put one to rest, hopefully, and then tackle the other one.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And then just last comment, like at the 10,000-foot view, Ms. Raisler and Superintendent Benty, on page 4, I mean, if you were to sum this up, this is a positive report based on our unassigned fund balance reprojected to be at 12.5% versus 10.84%, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct.
Further discussion? Director Moore.
Okay, on page 13, I guess I just have a comment. I guess regular instruction, I was surprised that it's only 36%. But on page 11 now, okay, I'm a sociologist, I'm not an accountant. On page 11 now, when we look at all of these, it looks like 5 out of the 7 funds.
Director Moore, we pull a microphone to you, they cannot hear you.
I'm sorry. 5 out of the 7 funds, it looks like we're in the red.
That's correct. We are expecting our expenditures to exceed our revenues.
So we're not living within our means.
We are in the fact that we have reserve, and so we're able to use our fund balances to make up for any excess of expenditures over revenues. That is not sustainable, and that is not a sustainable projection that we want to be on. We know that we have to continue to make adjustments to our budget to right size where our student count is with where our revenue source and expenditures are.
Okay. And I just have another comment. Why did this come out today?
It came out late because I was behind. I was behind on getting my work done with many other irons in the fire, as you will.
I know this was late last year, and I had asked last year specifically if we could get it sooner. And I am going to say this, that's unacceptable, and I think what is
Mr. Chair, may I
unprofessional
ask
is
for a
getting
point of
this the
order?
last minute.
Director Moore, will you please stop? We do?
Mr. Chair, may I ask for a point of clarification?
Yes, you may.
I wish to respectfully remind the board that you have one employee, and that is the superintendent. I also wish to respectfully direct the board to Policy 209, Section E10, which states that present any personal criticisms of employees to the superintendent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? We have a motion for approval.
Oh, wait a minute. Excuse me.
Director Knudsen, sorry.
Okay. On slide 13, so district support services, that's 3%. So what would that entail, or what's included in that?
District support services is the business office, a lot of the business office, HR, our communications, anyone that supports the district as a whole as far as running the business of a school district.
Oh, okay. And then when we get grant money, where does that come in?
So usually grants are shown as an expenditure and in the same amount as a revenue, so they wash, but they are included depending on what the grant is or what it's for. So if it's, to fund a particular program as far as curriculum, we'll see that then in the 600 area of an expenditure, but in the revenue of that same site or in that particular program. So a grant is going to always have an offset expenditure and revenue.
Okay.
And again, it's just dependent on what the grant is for. So like if it's for services, if it's for curriculum, if it's for supplies, it's going to show up in a different area based on the purpose of that grant.
So when we're looking at revenues, where does it land in one of these spots, or?
Yep. Normally where it's going to land is dependent on if it's a state grant or if it's a federal grant.
Okay.
Or if it's a local grant.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Last comments. We have a motion for approval of the fiscal year 2026 final budget. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 5-1. 10L, consider approval of fiscal year 2027 agreements with Nurstrand Elementary Charter School. There are actually 3 agreements, the technology agreement, nursing agreement, and custodial service agreement. I would ask that we approve all those in one unless there's someone that has an objection to that. I don't believe we have to do them individually there, I don't believe.
No.
Okay.
So these are simply, in the past, the board has, and please, Barbie, correct me where if I'm wrong here. In the past, the board has heard these along with a rental agreement, and the rental agreement has far outpaced any of these. We no longer have a rental agreement because we no longer own that facility. So these are simply service pieces that are on an as needed or as used basis. So they are minor agreements for Nurstrand to supply them with services from the district.
Thank you, Mr. Benty. Is there a motion for approval of the fiscal year 2027 agreements with Nurstrand Elementary Charter School for the technology agreement, the nursing agreement, and the custodial service agreement?
So moved.
Thank you, Director Moore. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Knudsen. Any discussion? As Mr. Benty said, they're purchasing these agreements from us. So for the discussion Discussion, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes 6-0. Moving on to dates to remember, and I've added a few here, as we've gone through here. There's a lot of them come, thank you, Ms. Raisler, very much. Things coming up in the end of the year here. This Thursday, May 21st, the adult education is graduation at the FEC, and I think that's 11 o'clock in the morning. I think I'd have to double check that.
11:30 at South Central.
11:30 at South Central? Thank you. Okay. Also, May 28th, 2026 at 7:45 is the Facilities Committee. May 29th is the ALC graduation at the ALC, and I believe that's at 1 o'clock.
Correct.
1 o'clock, they said 2 o'clock, I think it's 1 o'clock this year there. May 31st at 2 p.m. is the Faribault High School graduation ceremony, hopefully at Bruce Smith, weather dependent at Nomeland Gym. You're making that call on Friday the 29th, I see. Is that correct?
The high school principal will make that call, and I believe the call is on Friday, correct?
Yes, okay, thank you. June 1st, 2026, 5:30 p.m. is the board work session. June 2nd, 2026, 3:45 p.m., the policy committee. I'm going to add one in here. June 4th, it's a Thursday, Faribault Middle School 8th grade graduation. They run that in two segments. I believe the first one is at 11 o'clock, 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and the second one is like 12:30 there. June 8th, 7:30 a.m. is the finance committee. June 11th, 2026 at 7:45 is the Facilities Committee, and then June 15th, 2026 is our regular business meeting here at 5:30. With that, seeing no other further agenda items, is there a motion to adjourn?
So,
Thank you, Director Wolf. Is there a second?
second.
Thank you, Director Knudsen. Everyone else adjourned. Thank you. Discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you all.